While the world's greatest experts declared that a piston engine this powerful would simply melt itself into scrap, a group of stubborn American engineers decided to rewrite the laws of physics and build the mechanical heart that would end World War II. At 2:37 a.m. inside a Pratt and Whitney forge in East Hartford, Connecticut, the air shimmered with intense heat as sparks rained over steel boots and hammers echoed like distant thunder. Men in leather aprons worked beside a furnace burning white-hot at 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than anything nature was meant to withstand. Above the roar, the sound of failing metal became a common occurrence as engineers watched orange-glowing steel rods tear apart under their own weight. In the early 1940s, as the Second World War consumed entire continents, British metallurgists declared it a scientific fact that no air-cooled piston engine with more than 18 cylinders would ever hold together. They argued the stresses were too great and the heat would destroy the machine from within. While the B-29 Flying Fortress was a marvel of its time, its 4 engines were not enough to bridge the vast distances of the Pacific to strike Tokyo. The United States needed an engine so powerful it could push a fully loaded bomber across 5,000 miles of ocean. Pratt and Whitney engineers heard the warnings from across the Atlantic and chose to ignore them. They were told the engine could not be forged, that the crankcase would fail under the torque, and that the cylinders would seize. However, they also knew that without a breakthrough, thousands of American aircrews would die in the Pacific before ever reaching Japan. This led to an experiment that bordered on madness, an attempt to create the largest and most complex air-cooled engine in human history. While America raced against time and bombers fell from the sky in Europe faster than they could be replaced, generals in Washington demanded a super engine capable of 3,000 horsepower. Pratt and Whitney made the impossible claim that they could deliver 4,000. Inside the forge, molten aluminum poured like liquid sunlight into molds, but every casting cracked and every cylinder head warped. Yet every failure brought them closer to the truth that metal under extreme stress behaves like a living thing. By late 1942, the project was known among factory workers as the Beast. Every test run seemed to end with a deafening roar followed by a violent bang that shook the concrete floors. One explosion was so powerful it blew the test cell doors off their hinges, and reporters were strictly kept away. The engineers remained sleepless and stubborn, convinced that perfection was only one alloy away. While British experts waited for the Americans to admit defeat, the team in Connecticut instead built furnaces hotter than anything in Europe to rewrite the textbooks. The supervisor, Frederick Brackett, led his exhausted crew with the philosophy that if the metal broke, they would simply forge it again. Eventually, the metal held, and the impossible heart began to beat at 3,000 revolutions per minute, capable of lifting the heaviest bomber ever built. By the summer of 1942, the Army Air Forces realized the B-17 was magnificent but insufficient for the Pacific. Its engines gasped for air in the thin atmosphere, and the Japanese homeland remained 5,000 miles away from the nearest base. General Hap Arnold insisted that if they couldn't hit Tokyo, they couldn't end the war. The solution was the B-29 Superfortress, a machine twice the size of the B-17 that required an engine unlike anything ever seen. The design request demanded a piston engine delivering over 3,500 horsepower continuously at 30,000 feet, while weighing less than 3,500 pounds. Metallurgical laws suggested that the heat generated would reach the melting point of aluminum and tear the crankcase apart. British counterparts at Rolls-Royce even sent a cable warning that the 28-cylinder configuration would self-destruct from vibration harmonics. The engineers named their prototype the R-4360 Wasp Major. Its design stacked 4 rows of 7 cylinders in a spiral pattern, looking more like a metallic hurricane than a standard engine. The first full-scale test in December 1942 lasted only 6 seconds before the engine detonated, shattering windows and ripping the cowling apart. The Wasp Major was fighting itself, with each row of cylinders expanding at different rates and twisting the crankshaft. The vibration levels were frequencies no one had ever measured before, leading one engineer to write that the machine was eating itself alive. Emergency meetings were convened with the best minds from MIT, Yale, and Bell Labs. They filled notebooks with complex calculations, but every solution seemed to lead to a new failure mode. Desperation replaced optimism by early 1943 as prototypes continued to seize and shatter. Mechanics worked through the night under floodlights, soaked in sweat and fuel, while the smell of scorched aluminum filled the air. Rival companies were also chasing impossible power, but none were close to a working solution. To overcome the limitations of existing alloys, Pratt and Whitney engineers decided to invent a new one. They experimented with exotic nickel-chromium superalloys and modified forges to operate above 2,900 degrees Fahrenheit. Slowly, they developed a combination of nickel, copper, and aluminum that could maintain its strength at 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit without softening. Cooling remained a massive problem because air could not reach the inner cylinders. A young designer eventually proposed a fan mounted directly behind the propeller hub to force air into the center rows. This brilliant, crude solution allowed the engine to run for hours instead of minutes. However, every success came with high risk. During one test, shrapnel from a connecting rod tore through the control booth, forcing technicians to wear steel helmets. By mid-1943, the pressure from the Army was unbearable, as they had already ordered 300 B-29s and threatened to cancel the contract. Signs in the cafeteria reminded workers that men were dying while they drank their coffee. The crisis peaked in July with the fifth prototype, which finally settled into a deep, thunderous rhythm without exploding. Although a cylinder eventually cracked, the team knew they were finally getting closer. By the winter of 1943, the East Hartford plant never slept. The factory became a living organism, breathing and sweating through the efforts of men and women smudged with graphite and fatigue. Frederick Brackett, the 53-year-old lead metallurgist, believed machines had souls and lived inside the factory to listen to what the metal was telling him. He ignored letters from his wife to stay focused on the war effort, knowing that a working engine meant better survival chances for airmen like the brother of Samuel Ortiz, a young apprentice at the plant. The workers, from assembly line women to welders with burned arms, understood that the front lines of the war began in the glow of the molten metal. In early 1944, every test was a mix of theater and terror. Engineers could tell by the sound whether a run would survive. A healthy engine had a steady growl, while a failing one had a pitch that climbed like panic. Despite setbacks, like a cooling fin fracturing during a celebratory moment, the team was spurred on by letters from B-29 crew chiefs in the Pacific begging them to hurry. Brackett eventually finalized a new alloy he named 75 NCQ, which the men simply called the Survivor. In a final high-stakes endurance test at 11:08 p.m., the Wasp Major roared to life and refused to die. After hours of steady performance, the silence that followed the shutdown was filled only by the smiles of men who had forgotten how to celebrate. When the engineers tore down the successful engine, they found that the pistons had endured 1,200-degree temperatures without cracking. The Wasp Major was a cathedral of moving metal, with 28 cylinders arranged to inhale 2,000 cubic feet of air every minute. A massive three-stage turbo supercharger allowed it to maintain sea-level power even at 30,000 feet, where other engines would gasp for breath. At 3,500 horsepower, the propellers themselves reached the limits of physics, with blade tips approaching the speed of sound. Production expanded rapidly, requiring presses so massive their foundations were poured 30 feet deep. Every finished crankshaft was X-rayed for cracks using equipment developed for atomic research. By late 1944, the plant produced 10 engines a day, each containing over 7,000 individual parts and weighing nearly 2 tons. The first B-29 fitted with 4 Wasp Majors took its maiden flight in Seattle on September 21, 1944. As the 4 living hearts beat beneath the steel wing, the pilot reported that she flew smoother and lighter than expected. Technical reports were reverent, noting stable power and negligible vibration. This was a triumph of mass production, involving collaborations with Ford and General Motors across 5 states. By 1945, the engine was generating 4,300 horsepower, 3 times the output of Germany's best radial engines. On March 9, 1945, the Wasp Major changed air strategy forever. 400 B-29s launched the largest air raid in human history against Tokyo. The engine's power allowed the bombers to fly higher than Japanese fighters could reach and farther than any corner of the empire could hide from. Flight engineers could feel the engines through the floor, describing the sound as a heartbeat that meant they would live. The resulting firestorms in Tokyo were devastating, made possible by engines that refused to fail during 15-hour missions. 0 in-flight mechanical failures were recorded during entire squadron missions, an impossible statistic that changed the arithmetic of the war. On August 6, 1945, Enola Gay used these engines to carry the first atomic bomb to Hiroshima, effectively ending the conflict. When peace returned, the forges in East Hartford cooled, and the night shifts finally ended. The Wasp Major found a new life, powering post-war strategic bombers and luxury civilian stratocruisers. Between 1944 and 1955, over 18,000 Wasp Majors were built, consuming enough aluminum to build a city. However, the age of the piston giant was short-lived, as jet engines began to prove more reliable and faster. By 1956, pure jet propulsion had taken over, and the hammers that forged crankshafts began to build turbine blades instead. The last Wasp Major rolled off the line in 1955 with the words, "She never quit," written on its cowling. Frederick Brackett retired, keeping a cracked piston as a reminder of the era. He received letters from pilots saying his metal had brought them home. Today, only a handful of these engines still breathe, resting in museums as monuments to human persistence. When they are started for demonstrations, the sound is a deep, rhythmic pulse that makes time step backward. The material science born inside those furnaces became the foundation for modern rocket engines and nuclear reactors. The Wasp Major remains proof that progress is hammered and tempered by failure until it learns to survive. It is the mechanical soul of a generation that built strength out of doubt and turned sweat into flight.